Oh, hello, I didn't see you there. Well, I'm just kind of pissed. It's again, I'm going over. Essentially, have I determined, right, that the English lexicon, as one of the youngest, more fruitful languages of recent generation, in comparison to the other thousands upon thousands of years to compare to even older languages against, right? English has essentially been a circumstantial uh, has been used in a circumstance where it is that an imperialist regime was capable of surrounding a great bulk of the world. Not the entire part, no, but a great bulk of the world. And the various imperialist paradigms of Europe, as well as their journeys and colonialism towards the New World, and then down to the Central Americas, South America, all right, a great bulk of what would have been being kind of harnessed as the primary language by the imperialist system itself would have been moving to homogenize a great bulk of phonetic terms used elsewhere in culture, and there is a helpless kind of assimilation that occurs, right, between the natural organic languages of the folks that they would have been either conquering or assimilating into imperialism, right? But ultimately, colonials and imperialists both would live in these new worlds long enough that they would have to learn to speak the language there if they were going to communicate or assimilate really much of anything, right? So the cultural cross contamination kind of goes both ways. So what do you find that the English kind of do, right? They actually do take on a lot of different things and nuances from different cultures that they find that they enjoy and appreciate quite well, right? This one example could be like Indian curries, and so it's like it gets absorbed into the empire so much that it's like there's a whole bunch of places in Europe that adore curries, like UK and Ireland, right? So curries really get around just as an example, but it's like they're also going to be in India, Thailand. You're going to find them in China. You're going to find them all in Japan. They're all over the place. Curries are huge, right? So you can take a look at the food that they enjoy, right? And that's just an example. You use that as an objective, clear example. Well, you see how that gets moved around, right? And it gets really popular. It kind of gets homogenized into the world culture. Curry. And the imperialists of the English Empire helped with that. Um, Off of self-interest and just enjoying the curry in the first place, right? But you'll see that this thing happens with language as well. And I have started defining, oh my goodness gracious, over the course of the English Empire, defining the new English language against the old English language. The new English language is going to syncretize a great bulk of other languages processed through and over during the Empire. And the Old English language is going to have more bases to the Goths. So it's really like English got this as a base origin, like a keystone, and in an epicenter. It was able to spread and expand across so many different linguistic cultures in the world that essentially it would change enough, but we would have a system of definition and etymology strong enough to essentially surround new words that we get from other lexicons that we can put in our Latin-based glyphic system, right? We could just, if it's a phonetic term that they produce like a sound, we can use of our 26 glyphs whatever consonants and vowels they sound most like, and if that phonetic term gets uttered enough in whatever language, it eventually becomes an English word as well. And then we define it with all of our other English words, the translation of what that word was supposed to mean originally. If it gets picked up enough, it becomes a full-fledged word in English. And that once it's in use, it's there. So this happens subtly. You don't really know it when it happens, but it happens. We still have interesting terms of phrase and little sing-song things that we do that are clearly organic to the rest of the world overseas to an origin us. And it's funny, we just see ourselves going about it in motions and whatnot. We're still a brand new country over here in the United States, only 250 years old. We're really learning about the true nuance of universalism that has already occurred in the world over. And there is a huge, seepingly giant collective consciousness in terms of an older set of histories and origin standards that we're still looking to kind of link ourselves into or back into. We've been busy over 250 years defining the nature of what makes our nation and sovereignty different from the rest of the world, or so. That's something that newer sovereignties do of this magnitude. Either way, I say it's time to start learning about what makes us similar as well. There's always like a giant xenophobic period for like the first 100 years of the new sovereignty. You could and I want so you could cut it down to as short as 250 years. Either way, here's the cool thing about English. It has been proliferated so much, and so many English speakers have kind of moved across the world and studied things in a different language and become multilingual. And there are so many multilingual English speakers that have another base origin language, say like Spanish, German, French, right? Now, if you're one of those multilingual folks, you know exactly what the fuck I'm talking about. There are so even tomato and potato are like French derivations. Even still, it was just words for nightshade, but we wouldn't have said the term phonetically nightshade to refer to it at the time. That's what's so fucking awesome about it. But no, tomato and potato both mean two who do it in the shadows. But potato because it's there to make it pours. It's a potato, and it has pores on the inside of it, right? But it's also for the distribution of alcohol, the generation, the making of alcohol. So potatoes were specified originally to be something that was starchy enough to produce things like vodka, like gin out of. Which is really neat to think about, but how long ago were we making like weak beers and stuff out of potatoes that we'd allow to ferment, and how did all of it work? It probably tasted like sour swill, if I'm gonna be honest, but people needed a way to purify water in different ways, and that was a way to go about it, weak beer. But that's just like one of the many, right? I could tell you that America's name means the richness of Amaterasu, right? Even though that it's named after one of the guys one of the cartographers who placed a map here at all. But they would have forgotten the base origin of their names. Everything's from the gods. And in a different life, I used to design for them myself. It does feel. My point here, why am I going into all of this? Well, because it has to do with this chart. This is known as an onion chart. This is an onion chart, right? It's a chart of concentric rings. There is a base category, and then there are many subcategories, right? But technically, even this is a base category which has all of these subcategories within it as their core. All of these hail from the set of pragmatics, but all of these hail in the set of phonetics. Phonology, morphology, syntax, semantics, all hail, and they're all head from a kind of like a more specific point, whereas morphology might in fact be one of the most center point bases, and syntax as well, to the very meaning of meaning, in delimitation and connection, attraction, detraction. The very thing that gives our at symbols meaning when it is that we say it's at yahoo.com, at gmail.com, syntax morphology. How adjacent rules come together in order to produce meaning in patterns. So what am I arguing? I argue that English has been produced and pronounced enough over the world that it has worked as a compiler. And essentially a giant living database. There's so many English speakers out there. There's so many works in English made, so many communications produced in English, so many turns of phrase that have maintained other cultural origins in English, and other cultures will have this in theirs too. But there's so much of it that we truly do have enough of the world's words produced to ourselves in meaning in English that we can in fact start basing ourselves to know, in fact, just on how phonology and phonetics work for English as we speak it out of our mouths, we might be able to alter things just a little bit and hear how it is that what they're saying in Spanish or German could very well essentially sound nearly the same to what it is that we mean. It's just we forget this differences in semantic meaning that can be supplied to things that you state, not only as terms of phrase, but as phonetic outputs. What's one of my favorite ones? Alright, so I could tell you about my big, veiny, massive cock, right? And they're like, oh, it's like, no, I'm talking about my big giant chicken. It's like a big giant veiny massive chicken. Now they have like muscly arms and right, that's what I'm saying though. It's a big veiny massive cock. You don't have a basis to prove what the fuck I'm talking about semantically. You wouldn't be able to prove what I'm saying semantically. I can talk about a big massive veiny cock. It's weak, the connection that it has to do with the male penis and the genitalia there, right? It's also going to be weak, the basis that it has over to a chicken, because chicken is the true word of specificity that we use in English to refer to cocks. But technically there's a cock in your gun. You might say cock-a-doodle-doo. I don't fucking know. I don't want to be half-cocked, right? Am I getting a little cocky? Right? But see, that's what I'm talking about. Language has an open-ended meaning, not just a base. It doesn't all mean stuff to zero-sum consideration. People will try and treat language, especially English, as if it is all zero-sum. That word has to mean this one thing. Even in any amount of context, no one word ever has to mean any one thing. Words mean a universality of like hundreds of words related to them. Words mean all sorts of shit. So I get pissed off sometimes, I just get pissed off to this basis that people are so certain about what certain words have to mean or what certain statements gotta mean. I was raised by people who were so specific and particular about words, I needed to get to the basis of what made them them. Because something told me that the people, as much as geniuses they are, they were not going to understand it to the basis that I understood it. And so this is what happens when you have a very particular father when it comes to language. He has a very strong command of the English lexicon himself, right? It is. And then there's a lot of correction at the table, but not in a bad way. It was never mean correction, but still, correction always pissed me off so much because I knew what I was saying was in fact true, correct, and objective to what it was that I was meaning. They would state that to the utilization of a specific word's specificity, I was misusing it, yet the base origins The bases, the etymologic basis of the words that I was using were most certainly correct and relevant to the ideas I was expressing. Worst part of all, you fucking know what the fuck I was saying. You know exactly what I mean. Why do I need to correct it over to this other things, quote unquote? Because if you say it like that in society, people will think that you're stupid. Not when I pull up the fucking semantics chart. Now you're stupid. I love it. And so, what really brings up this whole little shindig is I'm trying to tell you that if you have a solid enough mastery in a language like English that has more recently arrived and has certainly been syncretized to many languages of the world over, you can begin to assert a level of mastery after diving into etymologic study, where you can begin to hear or read another language and make immediate sense of it. Maybe not 100% sense to the objective context of what they use it to mean in that language specifically, but you get all the hierarchical origins of every word they're putting down, and the order of it begins to look as familiar to you as any statement you've ever uttered in your origin language. And so this has happened to me. I've begun to start being able to read, as long as it uses a Latin-based alphabet like English is. I have begun to be capable of actually reading phonetically different languages currently used. And I can actually define like meaning from them 80% now. Maybe down to 70, 60, but still I'm very, very much getting there. I've begun to see how it is that beyond just this measure, one moment, I can read ancient languages as long as we've based them in Latin-based alphabets, and for what we've believed phonetically for certain glyph sets used in ancient cultures to be today. So, I can actually take Nefertiti's name and tell you that the Titi says deity. And I can tell you that the Nefer in Nefertiti is the same Nefer of Jennifer. I can tell you that Nefer has the same basis to Eros, and that is why Nefer says 0 in the ancient Egyptian language. And it's also the base origin to the term nether, beautiful wholeness, chaos. I can tell you that to the great basis of every word it is that we use in English at least, that in fact they all seem to be derived of the same philosophies we defined as gods when we were just little sprouts. But really we were always pretty big and we knew it. It's just hard to define what we are, as you can see. Holy shit. So, why am I pissed? I need to make a big deal out of this chart. Why? Why? Because about a year ago, I went back. It's 3/29/24, right? It's like over a year ago. I discovered this early, like mid 23. I'm about to take screenshots of it. I saw that in fact, at this point, this is why I did this, they had changed the tile. They had changed the actual picture for the semantics page. When this used to be linked to every other branch of epistemics, because this is epistemics here. This is an onion chart of epistemics. And I'm a metapistemologist. right? I'm the kind of guy who will tell you that English is more of a DNA than a language. But the idea here is that I see that after I started setting up to make really big, really huge academic arguments over this, and as you can tell, quite masterfully, I saw that there were individuals who were specifically moving to attempt to unfound and debase where it was that I was going to be hailing to make my arguments, where I would head. And it was, in fact, this semantics page of Wikipedia, just as an example. Just as an example. So they put in this useless image of, oh, right, semantics is, are you saying the word apple in spelling, or is it the spoken phonetic output of apple, or is it a physical apple that you're talking about? This is pointless. This doesn't tell me nearly the amount that this tells me about semantics and its various origin bases, and all of the things that surround semantics as epistemics. It used to do that in 2023. What the fuck happened? Why did we move to specifically bury how useful this origin chart to meaning? Literal meaning. Why would we be moving to remove everything and every citation, every link to every article that enabled me to explore all of this rather pragmatically? So I have to go in there. Give me a second, because I'm currently defining. I want to know when they changed it. I want to know when they changed the picture. Because I used to have quite a chart, quite a hierarchy here of things to choose from other forms of epistemics in fields. And so this is pulled back December 25th, 2022. Maybe it got updated a bit, because I wouldn't have happened upon it until mid-23 there and about. Actually around August, September of 2023. So give me a moment. Just a moment. Ha! I did it. That's it. They'll never be able to take it away from me now. This has been one of the most important. I haven't even studied over this onion chart, right? I literally just learned 20-30 minutes ago that this is called an onion chart, so that I can call it, right? Let me just go ahead and say onion chart referring to epistemic. I'm gonna go ahead and say epistemic. It's like origin. It's like flow. It's like hierarchy. And it's epistemic set hierarchy. And now, the entirety of what it is can never be forgotten. I have it all. So, here's when I see it, and we're gonna do this together, folks. We're gonna do this together. This is December 11th, 2023, right? So I still would have found it in the similar basis that I found it. A little bit. The semantics portion of it is a little bit lesser than I think I remember. But ultimately, I still have different bases and subfields all enabled to be output, and then I have the major levels of linguistic structure, all offered to me here in this basis, right? Let us go to see when it is that they attempt to remove that. Because that is, when again, December 11th of 23. So that's December 11th. So let's head into 24. And I'm just going to go ahead and place a pin around October 1st here. Because I want to see when somebody moved to change that incredibly useful image to something that was like that. I also want to point out how it is that there is not a subfield. You don't have this beautiful boundary here. This used to be a means to go and learn everything you needed to learn about a specific field, right? And Jimmy Wales, you can help me out with this. This is handy. Why was this here at one point and now this is not? Now it's all hidden in this thing, right? There's a hierarchy here that I can get to, but this is just the hierarchy that exists over here. Where is my banner field of all connected fields and applications? All, and if it comes in a what is it, like an architecture? What do they call it? Give me a second. I'm gonna figure out the word in a moment. Okay, I think it was unit, right? So there were essentially like units like these placed around, right? So they were kind of like curricular units, if you will. But it was a whole hierarchical chart. Let me see. Give me another pause. They were called series. These are called series. So you have these huge amounts. This is just for anti-intellectualism. Something I see that the intelligentsia is always spawning into a certain degree. They want intellectualism to be a rarity, so they make it unfashionable for people to be intellectuals. And if you ever think that you're rising up to start being smarter than other people have been subconsciously set up to tear you down, because then they take it as an attack to their own supremacy to some degree. So it's kind of funny. But this is what I'm talking about. We had these series. And so I have this series kind of chart here on Semantics, right? This banner field with all of these different links. Has it been clearly crushed? It might even be an upgraded page on Semantics, right? Don't get me wrong. There's a bit more data there than there was. And then it looks like somebody really kind of did it up. Right, they offered more history on it. This is all human-based, but indeed, one of the most important fields was in fact this banner and this major levels of linguistic structure onion chart. And so I don't know why it is that after we moved to dress up so much in the semantics page that we would think that it made sense to essentially undissertate everything that would have been based and founded upon in the original semantics page to begin with. We're like purposefully separating semantic structure. Or we're purposefully separating link structure. Give me a second here. Sound. Just making sure they don't try and make it cover me up. Why are we moving this? Why is this not come back? That's another big question of mine. This is I see that this should in fact incite that a series on epistemics is generated. I want a full series of epistemics here as it pertains to these different subsets of fields in meaning, right, that we have in philosophy, right? And I need to see a series like that, like I find a series on discrimination, right? This is a wonderful fucking page. This is an excellent page. Why am I moving away from documenting with dissertated links so heavily, and I'm removing accessibility from being able to understand it as a system? This makes it way more accessibly understandable. I go into semantics and I can see the whole semantic galaxy, the whole semantic universe This is one of the things, just this image gave me my metapistemologic breakthrough. And it's like they took it away after they realized just how much sense it offers somebody. I'm going to now define when it was that somebody moved to remove this. This is between December 11th, 2023 and October 1st, 2024. I want to see how it happens. Because it pisses me off so much. Who would have thought? Oh, I'm gonna update all this shit on the semantics page, but I'm purposefully going to remove the things that were known to be the most relevant to somebody's actual academic breakthrough. That's literally it. Oh, this was obviously way too short, and you can read the whole thing up on it in just a moment. I need to make it huge so it's a fucking drudge, and you'll never be able to know everything that's involved around it. Let me take away all of the diagrams that expressed the information so quickly and as simple as an image, and boy does an image say 1,000 words. No, let me take away most all images that do that, create some contrivance as to how semantics might be inferred from such a simple fucking symbol. And then just give a whole bunch of historic concepts on philosophy that might have something to do with semantics, but doesn't necessarily supply your fucking breakthrough like it did. And I'm not saying that more is less, it's just, why did we remove this? So let's say October, right? And now this is June 12th, and so sometime between December 11th, 23 and June 12th, 24, we're gonna keep going in, folks. We're going to go hit March 9th. Mike, why does this matter so much? Because there are people out there specifically trying to subconsciously and discreetly remove the origins. This would have been one of the only places I would have known to secure this chart. They wanted specifically to remove my ability to reference it, is my genuine belief. And that is after everything I have been through. Not just what you find here, but over 1.5 motherfucking years. So I'm just pulling that up. I don't need to go into that. I'm asserting that is what I'm saying. Even so, March 9th. As soon as that, huh? December 11th. So let's go ahead and say March 9th. Let's check the January 1st date here and see if it was in fact on the new year. Yeah. January 5th. It's still good. So let's keep going. Got into January, and yet March it's changed. We'll check February. We'll check the last date of February available. February 14th. It bothers me so fucking much. It's so handy that we have the Wayback Machine, but what does it mean? What does it mean? It means that if you're ever going to cite anything for yourself on Wikipedia or anything, especially when you're somebody who probably, and you wouldn't have known it yet, but you have people specifically already watching you and are trying to find ways to sabotage you, and specifically subtle mechanisms like this to try and make you lose credibility, not just to the idea and the perception you have of the world around you, but of your perception of yourself. It kind of rubs you the wrong way, especially before it is that you've become president. So you want to get to the bottom of this one, and you want to see why they are trying to erase accessible learning in this place, where somebody like myself was going to be making a lot of theses on. So I just wanted to go into that. So February 14th, it's still there. cool. Alright, so we have to go in. And February 14th, it was still there. And then we know by March 9th or whatever, it's not there. So let's because this is June 12th. Correct. So March 2nd, February 14th, March 2nd. Yep. So sometime between February 14th and March 2nd of 2024. So we'll go ahead and document that here. Was removed from Semantics page. And the whole idea is I don't even have to look into this now. I can already catch the IP addresses of people who were specifically moving this. They probably do it through proxies. But I'll still be able to surround them and get them with what I'm going to come into access of. So I'm really just trying to say, don't ever fucking do that. Was removed from Semantics page from, it was February. This is what we do to continue to surround victories for all of us. I just like catching them a bit. I really do enjoy catching them. Fucking intelligentsia scum. They're the overseers, folks. The overseers. You don't like them. You don't like them. February 14th, 24. March 2nd, 24. And then you'll see here I got smart 5 days after. Actually, no. Sorry. Can you do math, Mike? Can you do -2? I was on it. I saw that it was in fact shifted sometime after February 14th to March 29th. So within a month and a half. Within a month and a half, likely in the month. It's like I feel a disturbance. And yes, in fact, somebody had gone in skulking around trying to undermine the immediate usefulness of the page. Semantics used to come up with this, and it made this incredibly accessible as a thumbnail. They didn't want so much knowledge to be offered from a thumbnail. Somebody specifically in the inside determined, I don't want to teach them so much from a picture in a thumbnail. I want to teach them as little as fucking possible. And I'm going to state, I pointed that out then. I pointed this out for over a year. I would have expected that this page would have been updated again. So that removed from Semantics. Wikipedia's. And then what you can do is you grab the Wayback Machine origin base. So now you never lose it ever. I'm just showing all of you how to do this in case it ever happens. Again, always make sure you've cited yourself and saved a page on the Wayback Machine. If you are going to cite any academic material on Wikipedia, absolutely save that fucker. Why is that important? Because, oh, well, it's just a Wikipedia page. It's not actually fucking cited. Okay, you big fucking retard. No, it's actually absolutely cited, and all of these links have been saved too. All of these links have been saved. No, not retard as it pertains to those who are globally developmentally delayed. I'm talking about people who are genuinely trying to be slow. Allow me to enjoy a retardando in music for a moment. A subtle retard. I am anything but subtle, that's funny. So, no, it's all absolutely cited, and all these links are accessible too, even in the archived page. So that's why you do this. You don't want them to try and cut away your references. It's all right here. It's all right here. Mm. Whew. Sorry about the R word. I don't give a shit though. It's like I get upset. This is my fucking theory. This is my fucking theory. And on top of that, it's really just to a basis that I would have expected that this kind of shit doesn't get pushed to the bottom. This was the thumbnail, and everybody who would have searched up anything about semantics would have been taught the whole kit and caboodle just in a fucking onion chart in a thumbnail. Why are we specifically trying to make how much people learn just by hovering over? Just by hovering over, I'm sorry, let me get to it more recently. Just by hovering over these different fields, right? I have the ability, to see some level of information that tells me everything I need to know in a way in a picture. And so what tells the people who still maintain this article that essentially this picture is less worthy of this category than this picture? And then why do I not find this picture dissertated in a meta-epistemics or epistemics thumbnail? Somewhere. Because I don't find it fucking anywhere. I can literally search onion diagram, right? Onion chart for epistemology. And it's just going to be ideas of an onion chart. It's not even what I'm looking for. I'm specifically looking for the onion chart referring to epistemics. I'm going to pragmatics and all these different. Where the fuck is it? And would you see this? There's no fuck, right? A series on linguistics, and then they hide it. Why is this not open when I get here first? Like it was before. It's like it's designed to give me confidence that something's easily findable, but then it wants to remove it and hide it. Whatever. Jimmy Wales, help me out with this. Keep the series banners available, please. There's so much bullshit in terms of how things have been shifting lately. It's really a problem. And make fucking fandom better. Make it not a fucking advertisement hell. For I redefine it altogether. You know, shit. I don't want to see my shit getting undermined when it is that I have these huge theories to be essentially brokering across the world. What it is that I might say is probably being translated to 100 different languages at this moment. So, I need all of this shit to be known, and I need it to stay the fuck put. It's not like it's not allowed to update, but this is specifically purposeful data loss. It's so clearly specifically purposeful data loss. This thing was useful. Let's bury it and make the page look as different as possible so he doesn't remember that that's where he found that image. I wonder how many types of these games are played with up-and-coming philosophers. It's people don't want the boat rocked. I'm going to literally rip your world apart. What triggered this? I was giving my theory of English as a compiler to meaning in semantics, really all from the basis of phonetics and the fact that we typify everything to our base 26 phonetic system. It's technically base 26 phonetic system. It's just 26 components that we use to refer and make different noises, but then we also have ch and th. Right, there's different stuff, and then you go into actually it's like I before E, right? Those kinds of things that has origin over to other languages. right? So I'm over here explaining how it is that English is in fact this kind of compiler. It shows the genes of language and their origin and the obvious connecting points that things in languages like English have to all of the world's languages. Not things just like Spanish and Latin, but things like fucking Mandarin, katakana, things like Arabic, which our number system is based off of, by the way. Right? It's just constantly this thing over here in the United States that I've run into where we want to think that it's like, and it's not on us, the citizens, it's this perpetual thing that's been output in the overheads and suggestion. It's the idea that we would think that we are separate from the rest of it when in fact we are organic to all of it. It's absolutely something that it just makes no sense to me. No, we are not the only portion of the world. We're not the only people who have ever thought of stuff as philosophers. We're not the highest and mightiest of all things ever perceived. We have the world's strongest military system. For fuck's sake, we made a bunch of money during World War II. We made some good bets. But you know, it just gets at me because it's like I find that what I am currently ripping down in a part just to keep the shining beautiful place that is my nation still up and like separated from the evil of the world, if you will. I'm finding that we were implementing a similar basis to what the Nazis were thinking of doing in terms of creating an almost legendary origin story for the country that is young and redefining history for the folks that reside within it. While it still takes in enough folks from the external cultures, but it can't be so much that it undermines that cultural perception that we're specifically engineering to be understood and perceived across the greater set of the populace as a whole. Yes, it's that they want to keep that general collective conscious under some level of control. Some level of supremacy towards the American ideal has been what it is that we've wanted folks to perceive. Don't get me wrong, our military system is clearly supreme, but I'm not saying that everything we've ever defined culturally or philosophically for ourselves is the supreme. I think that we find ourselves running into a lot of issues again and again here. I I really just want to state it should be that when I talk to my parents about my theory of being able to organically define etymologic root to all languages using a mastery of English as a basis should be met with more positive optics and not absolutely no references back from the people I'm discussing with, who they themselves are very, very, very philosophically endowed. My mother's an English major, and she was always big on keeping syntax correct. And my father's very specific and has a very strong command of the language himself. We're very particular people, we hearts. We're very particular. We freestyle most everything else, but when it comes to understanding and semantics and shit like that, we have been stupid particular. They might not consider the word semantics too often, outside of like, oh, things have different meanings. But it's all good, because they know it. It's just they don't know to define it to the field in the study of semantics. We should teach that. We should teach epistemics in fucking general. Okay, so next time, I hope that my parents could at least give me a little Mikey head pat. Because this is the kind of thing that it leads to when it is that I don't get my Mikey head pat. I go, why the fuck is the fucking onion charts for epistemics still not on the semantics page to Wikipedia? Has this chart been placed anywhere else It's getting kind of blurry. They see you, and now they're gone. Alright, so. That's thick. I have it saved. This is how you lock it down. This is how a scholar fights for their... This is how a scholar fights for their theory. Right? I would defend my dissertation any fucking step, any fucking day of the week. Yes, and now I have that. If I link the capture to a Wikipedia article, it saves the actual thumbnail anyways in metadata, and programs like, or applications like Discord will automatically have their AIs grab it from that website. That's so fucking handy. So cool, now I have a basis to being able to very quickly and easily refer to how it changed. Again, isn't this so much more information than this? Doesn't this tell me about, like, semantics and, like, 5 other schools of reasoning, all as one school of reasoning, all in a single thumbnail? Isn't this way more useful than this? Yes, and I would argue that they made it this because they wanted to specifically make it less useful. Good night.